hold on. Do you guys know why there's a 3-episode rule? I can't believe you would bring up edge runners and use your big brain and figure out why they're fighting, and then
you didn't figure out why they're fighting. I asked you to think about it.
I think I know why they're fighting.
Yeah, it didn't excite me then either.
So what show you want to talk about? You want to talk about Metallic Rouge?
I mean, since Friday, there's been several anime that I've watched. So, I watched Demon Prince of Momochi House. Hokkaido Gals are super adorable, and Metallic Rouge.
I know you talked about Hokkaido Gals too.
Okay.
Only the gayest ones for Leon.
No, those were all
Hokkaido Gals.
Hokkaido Gals is a man's man.
Yeah,
Hokkaido Gals. Haven't seen it yet, so
right.
I know.
Okay, still waiting for Snack Botsway to start. So
you said Momochi and Hokkaido. What other ones do you want?
Metallic Rouge was the other one I watched.
Just those three? Okay.
Yeah, those three. Because I think we talked about the others last week. Delicious in Dungeons, Satsuki Peeps, and Snack Botsway hasn't aired yet. I think those are the
we're still waiting on that one.
And then we talked Delicious in Dungeon last week as well.
All right. Are you familiar with a fujoshi? Do you know that term?
Not by that definition. I don't know that term. No, give me a definition. I might.
Okay. But fujoshi is a woman who likes to watch guys do it.
Gotcha.
Or think about guys doing it. Or imagine that guys are holding hands. Or think about guys holding hands. Or watch.
Whenever she sees a guy holding two guys that she thinks are cute holding hands, she imagines them banging each other.
So now with that definition in mind, tell me about Momochi-san house.
I'm gonna be 100% honest. I mean, it's very much obviously gonna be like Skate the Infinity, and it's got some homoerotic vibes to it. But other than that, I'm sorry, that's not enough to turn me away from the show. Story can still be a good story. A show can still be a good show. Like, I liked Skate the Infinity, despite the fact that there was very much of that sort of aura going on with that show. I'm getting the same here, but with demons in a haunted house. So,
okay, I want you to be able to use the terminology, right? You know, I don't want you to be.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I can appreciate that.
No,
I enjoyed the first episode a lot, actually, so much more than I thought I would.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Give me a. I'm probably not gonna catch up on this anytime soon. Give us a episode 1.
So basically, the main chick is an orphan, and then on her 16th birthday, she's given her parents' will, and apparently her parents had a mansion, and so now she gets to leave the orphanage and go to the mansion, and it's going to be hers now. She inherited it from her dead parents who she never met, and then lo and behold, these 3 demons live there. Well, 2 of them are. You find out that 2 of them are demons, and one is actually a demon hunter. And so she goes there, and they're like, "Hey, you can't stay here." She's like, "Bullshit! I inherited this house. This is my rightful place to be." And they're basically trying to shoo her away. And the main guy is like, "Look, it's for your protection. All this property is ran by demons, and I'm the person who's been chosen by the gods to basically fend them off." And she's like, "Oh, so you're trying to tell me to leave because you care about me? Well, I appreciate that, but I'm not going anywhere." And it's clearly going to be her getting into shenanigans and watching some homoeroticism while demons are murdered, and her trying to live her life with these 3 dudes and respect her parents' wishes and taking, being in this mansion that makes her feel closer to the parents she never knew. But it's also like real. It's an old school, like pre-modern era mansion, so it doesn't have electricity or anything like that. The stove is a traditional Japanese stove that requires like coal and fire. So it's got an element of no modern convenience to it. Her cell phone gets broken in the first episode, and that sort of just cuts off all contact she has with the modern world.
A little bit of a.
So this is like 80% the same as the Cafeteria Since Goddesses, gender swapped.
That makes it
sure.
Guy shows up, says it's his place, and it's being basically run by. Yeah, I could see that.
It's pretty similar.
if the parent or grandparent interacted with the demons, it would be like 1 for 1.
I guess that would be.
Yeah,
like
that's probably the only real difference there. Cool.
And they might talk about that in the next episode, how they were hanging out with the grandpa, I guess, right?
Honestly, it reminded me a whole lot of like if Fruits Basket and Inuyasha like got together and had a child, and that child would be this anime.
Gotcha.
And I love Fruits Basket. I've always loved Fruits Basket, so I was like, yeah, I'm all in on this.
Nice. I'm getting a taste for your styling. Okay. And then we all I think, except the gay ones have watched Hokkaido Gals.
Hokkaido Girls was literally, I mean this in the best way, nothing special and everything I wanted it to be.
Exactly what I wanted. Well, like exactly what I thought it was going to be is what it was. Except the one part that got me that I'm still like kind of thinking about whenever I laugh about this show, I'm like, is when he borrows the blanket and then hands it back to her and she sniffs it. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's ridiculous. Like,
so yeah, this is basically just Nagatoro for people that want a busty Gyaru instead.
Yeah, exactly.
So still just Nagatoro.
But she's not a busty Gyaru.
But he's gonna end up with the busty one.
That's like Nagatoro? Years down the line.
Also, the outro song to this was far better than it had any right to be. The outro song to this was a flat bop, dude.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I watched.
I don't remember any of the
5
music
seconds of
for
it
any of
because
the
I
shows
skipped
watched.
intros and outros for the first couple because they'll give away to. Oh no, I did watch this one because it has them like flying through the sky.
Yeah.
Okay. I might have hallucinated that, but I'm glad you said that it actually exists.
So I'm afraid of spoilers with intros and outros as well, so I never paid attention to the visuals, but like since I'm a musician, I always love paying attention to the music, and I loved the music.
Good. Yeah,
that could transition to talking about music critics.
Yeah, we can bitch about music critics for a while.
Is there any other show you want to talk about? You want to talk about Metallic Rouge first?
He's got to talk about Metallic Rouge. How about that fight song? Am I right?
I did not think that this was. I was not going to watch this show. Like just from the when we were first talking about the anime coming out this season, and I saw this picture, I thought, whatever, this is going to be. This looks like crap. And then I was reading about it. I was like, hey, this seems like it's got kind of a cyberpunk vibe. And so I watched it on a whim, thinking I wasn't going to like it. The art is strikingly good. Like the animation and art design. Huh?
Yep.
That's what told me. I didn't know it was Bones. Yeah. The reason I found out, I was on Kitsu, and someone had mentioned that this is Bones' new original anime, not based on a manga. I was like, oh shit, it's Studio Bones? All right, fuck it, I'm gonna give it a shot. And again, it was strikingly incredible art, which again, Bones makes sense. Again, one of my favorite anime of all time is Carol and Tuesday. I believe Bones did that as well. Yep. Or at least did the intro and outro to it, but I think it did the whole show.
And the director for this directed multiple episodes of Carol and Tuesday.
And yeah, that makes, and again, that's one of my favorites. And I was not expecting it to be so action oriented. And I'm actually not big on modern action anime. I leave my action stuff in the 80s through early 2000s, but the choreography in this was a lot of fun. The world that they've built has me really intrigued. Like the idea these androids have to take these drugs to stay alive, but humans can take it, and it's like the best high they've ever gotten. So like I'm really invested in the world. The main girl is super cute. It did not do a lot of heavy-handed CGI, if any CGI. So all in all, like I'm all in.
All right, before Captain Cranky says anything, I loved this show. And I had one issue, and I think they got too much jargon. Like, they gave out a lot of, like, their name for Android. They're like, oh, the name. They got these other organization names. Like, there was a lot of just names of things that I think should have just been used in their more broad sense. Like, I can keep up, I get it, but, like, I could see someone being like, there's too much jibble jabber in this. I'm gonna watch something else. So I think it suffered a little bit there.
Yeah, I can see that, but also if morons aren't watching cyberpunk themed things, I'm a-okay with that, because cyberpunk stuff should go over the head of the average individual. If you can't read and understand Neuromancer, then you don't deserve to read and understand.
If they reference Asimov and you don't know what that means,
right? Yeah, that was when I was sold. Like when they made the Asimov reference, I was like, I'm all in on this, baby.
All right, Serranos, you can speak now.
I don't think the dialogue was bad by any means, but what is Leon? What do you think the plot is?
So far it seems like there are two different government entities, or not government entities, maybe like third party. It's probably actually third-party companies that are independent.
Like 3 different things that could be. Okay.
Yeah. I was correcting myself, because cyberpunk usually has to do with corporations, not governments, or corporations that are own the government. One of the two. Either way, there's 2 rival corporations, and then there are these robotic entities. There's either 9 or 7 of them. I don't remember. I think it was the 9 Immortals or 7 Immortals. and the corporations either want to shut them down or want control over them. I'm not sure, but I don't know if the show has made it clear yet. But they want something to do with the Immortals and possibly the control of the drug trade that keeps the androids running.
Yeah, I definitely got mostly the most that made clear was like it being about the drugs being very important because like people die if they don't get them, or the robots die if they don't get them.
Right.
But other than that, they didn't really say much of anything in terms of plot. I don't know why they were fighting actually.
Stupid
interesting.
robots, always addicted to
I
school.
don't know. why
I'm not
they're
sure.
fighting.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Maybe use your big brain and figure out why they're fighting, and then see
You
if
didn't
you're
figure
right.
out why they're fighting. I asked you to think about
I
it, and you
think
didn't
I
come
know
up with
why they're
anything.
fighting.
I
because
told you
one of
two
the robots-
factions that are competing,
Yeah,
and he said the same thing. Use your brain.
Well, you see, there were two sides. and
Yes,
they
Peter
were
Venkman
fighting.
fan site. RoboCop is cyberpunk. Yeah,
that's such a cop-out
RoboCop
blame.
is RoboCop cyberpunk.
What?
That was such a cop out. You see, there are like these two sides.
They're
and they were
factions. They're fighting
fighting.
each other.
I even specified. I think they're alien.
Yeah, you said they want to
That's
like
not
try to
cop
take
out
over
if
the
that's
planet.
if that's the correct. We've gotten 22 minutes so far. Like that is all we've been shown. Is you've got these two
Okay,
factions.
What's the plot
a
of
cyber-
Hokkaido Gals?
A dude moves to a new school, to a new town, and the girls are cute, and he's wondering where his life is going to go.
That's
from
more
here.
of a plot than Metallic Rouge.
That's
That's
literally
not
the same
true.
thing. And those each were like 2 sentences.
You guys are how can you watch that and be like, there's no plot? I cannot watch or listen.
I
I
didn't
just
watch it
need
either.
someone
I
to
don't think that's what I
spoon
said.
feed me the damn plot. If you don't tell me everything about the plot, I don't know what's going on. That's what I'm hearing.
The thing is, I don't know much about like what the plot's going to be doing, and I also don't know much about what our characters actually are trying
Just
to do.
say it's too techie and you're confused. It's all right. You can be confused.
Well,
You're
and they
gay.
didn't actually say
No,
it though.
but that's
what I'm
kind of the
saying.
point. Even the main character girl doesn't fully understand her mission. They make that clear in the first
Yeah.
episode. So if she doesn't understand her mission, why should we, the viewer, if she's the one we're following, she's the main character?
But if I don't
Yeah, she's
understand
probably-
it, I
she should
can't
probably know
watch it.
more about what she's doing. Yeah.
Stronos is insufferable. It's true. Feed me
We're
applesauce.
going to find
Okay.
out more of the plot alongside her. There's a reason people give anime the 3-episode rule, because you can't get. If they were to spoon feed us everything in the first episode, why the fuck would I watch the additional 12? I want to not know everything. All I need to know is that this is an interesting world. We got 2 warring factions, and it seems like the drug trade is going to be important. That's good enough for me as a hook in the first 22 minutes to want to see more.
I thought it was okay.
Anime of the year. Anime of the year already.
Okay.
Okay, well, Sasuke and Peeps is still a thing. I'm just saying.
Oh, don't forget. So was it no Mike? Mike bounced after like a minute. He was like, I ain't got time to watch 40 minutes.
Delicious
even
in
here.
Dungeon was
He's not
great.
even
I've
here to
watched the first
defend
episode
himself.
of that. I think the second episode comes out tomorrow. Delicious in Dungeon.
I haven't done my Annie.
Dude, but there was like
this season.
so little plot for like one 20-minute section of Delicious in Dungeon. Like, what even happened? They had like
If
set
you're
up-
looking
it
for
set up the
plot in
plot,
Delicious
though.
in Dungeon, no, that's the
Well,
guy.
the thing is, Delicious in Dungeon set up their plot is the fact that they're going to be going down all the way to the bottom of the dungeon to try to rescue his sister.
Yeah,
That's
it's
the
not going to
plot.
be deep. It's going to be a comedy anime about cooking. Like there's
Well,
literally
yeah,
like
the plot can be simple, but I want to know what it is. That's what I'm saying. It's like
Right, but
I
I don't
wanna
want to
know what
know
it
the
is.
whole plot. And like if you read anything cyberpunk, if you read Neuromancer or Blue Rose Hotel, you don't know the plot from the first chapter. You get vague ideas of characters, maybe. Like you just have to be
mean,
familiar with the cyberpunk
compare
storytelling
it-
genre.
compare it to Edge Runners that just aired episode.
I
1. You
I
know
haven't
what's
watched Edge
happening.
Runners. I don't give a fuck about Edge Runners. Edge Runners
Yeah.
seems like a fairly generic IP based. I'm sure it's good. I've heard a lot of people say it's good, but
it sounds like
I-
similar
it-
things you said about Baldur's Gate 3.
You are coping so fucking
Dude,
hard.
Edge
I'm not
Runners
cooking.
doesn't tell you everything in the first episode either. I can't
No,
believe
guys,
you would bring up
Cyberpunk is my
Edge Runners
But you
and be like,
understand.
oh, it'll tell you everything. You get
You
it just
What I
as
understand
much.
the
said, though,
plot.
you're
You
actually way
understand.
overstating what
Hold
I
on.
said.
What do you mean
moving
the
forward.
plot? What do you mean the
you
plot?
You understand the plot moving forward. Okay, you have.
And
a
what
place
do you
to
not
go off. You
understand
have a
about
goal.
Metallic Rose? We've got someone who's going
I
to fight.
understand what our
9
main character
people.
wants to do.
right.
We understand what the
Thank you,
character
Mike.
wants to do. They want to fight and kill these people.
Does she?
Yes. Well,
That's
even if
literally
she
what
doesn't,
she
that's what her
does.
job is. We
If
know that's
she
her job. We know
changes her motivation, that's her character growth. We know
Yeah.
what she wants to do just as much as we know what dipshit knew in Cyberpunk.
Yeah, I mean, David had an idea about what he wanted to do. I understood who David was and where he like came from because obviously we see his like
And again,
origin
I just
story.
it's not that I'm coping. It's that I've read a lot of cyberpunk literature, so I'm familiar with this style of storytelling because it's common tropes in the cyberpunk genre. So I'm just well versed in it.
Oh, it's something you've seen before and it's pretty good.
So in episode 1 of Cyberpunk, you're like, yeah, he's gonna get chromed out and be like this crazy giant monster man. You guys are like,
No,
oh yeah.
that's not what I'm talking about.
Then what do you mean by plot?
I'm talking
you know
about
why he wants to
understand-
do his thing?
I-
You need
yeah,
a
I
why?
understand the character. Yeah, I got a pretty good overview of the character,
Why
his
do
motivation,
you
what he's going
need
to be
a
doing.
why? They're told to
That's
do
what
something.
That's what I like.
We're
yeah.
giving a person who's a shell, who is told to do things. They're doing things robotically. They're a robot. They're android. They're like, oh, this is my order. I'll do it. We even get repeated dialogue from this character every time they're asked, what is that? Like, we get the idea that they don't make the decisions. So the character growth moving forward is them finally figuring that out and making decisions and learning from that. Like,
yeah,
they're-
I do like the
whole
her as a
point is that
character,
there
what I've
isn't a
gotten,
why.
But I want to see more.
Great, they're just copying a Demon Slayer arc. Even better.
You're out of here.
Yeah, I
You're
like what
gone.
I've seen
You
from
take
her
a
as a
break.
character. I want to see more of her.
You want to see
Copying
more
a
of her?
Demon Slayer arc. That
Yeah.
the trope of the sentient android that's trying to find its place in the world and realizes it can make its own decisions goes back far further than Demon Slayer. Also, by the way,
But like right now, as far as I watch the show, I'm not really attached to it at all.
you don't have to be.
It's just
it's the
copying
first way.
Pluto.
No, but
Swear, you're
when you
gone.
read
You're dead.
Neuromancer, you're not attached to Case for the first chapter. Case is the main character.
I mean,
by the
even
way.
for me, I didn't like Pluto, but I liked Gashit from like his first like 25 minutes. I liked him quite a bit.
I haven't watched Pluto, so I can't speak to Pluto, but I can
Yeah.
speak to other cyberpunk stuff that I've watched, read, or experienced. Like, you're not attached to Neo in the first scene when you meet Neo. You have to go through character development. You're not attached to Neo when you see him typing at a computer in a cubicle. There's no attachment there. Like, you've got to build
Yeah,
the
getting
character.
called into
I'd
an
have
office.
to think about Matrix more,
But there's an
yeah.
expectation. There's a different expectation with the movie. You're
I
expected to
highly
be hooked with the
disagree.
TV
At the end of the day, these are stories. You should have the same expectation of
No,
a story, which is
with
The
the movie, there's
presentation
an
is
expectation that you've already like planned to invest over an hour. So like it's very different. From
and
a
that
TV.
Well, that's
expectation is
usually
there
what
for
we get
anime
to
as well
anime,
because
yeah.
most
And you
people
won't
have
even watch 40 minutes of Sasuke and Peeps. I don't want to
Yeah.
hear expectation about investing time from you.
Not
I
only
wasn't
that, but the vast
expecting to
majority of
invest
people
40
operate
minutes.
on
I
a
was
three.
expecting
If
to
you ask
invest
anyone
20,
in
and then I
anime,
walked away.
most people operate on a 3-episode rule. Well, a 3-episode rule, if you
No,
don't count
no,
commercials.
we've always
Yes.
discussed such a shitty rule. We've
No,
always
so the three-
I
the
don't care if you think
3-episode
that's a
rule
shit
is
That
garbage.
is what most people do. You might think
okay.
that's a
Stop
shitty
saying
rule.
most people.
pe-
We don't.
Yes,
no one.
no, most people. Yes.
No,
I don't
people
really
should
That's
care.
not
a
I
thing.
don't think
That's
the
a
what
generally accepted thing in the anime community. That's why it's got a name. The name is the 3-episode rule.
No.
If it wasn't something that was generally accepted that most people did, it wouldn't have a name.
Well, in our
Most
community, we
people
have a
don't do
no
that.
shit eating rule, so we
Most
don't eat
people
shit here
literally
because
do
we don't
not
like
do
doing that.
It is just the fucking major anime YouTubers use that for their reviews.
I call bullshit because I don't watch any major anime YouTubers, and I know
Okay,
plenty of
well, guess
anime
what?
fans.
You want to know where
rule.
that
It
came
has
from?
a-
You want to know where
the-
that came from? That came from
3-episode
fucking
rule
Guguk.
has been
That
around
came from
longer than
fucking
YouTube.
Guguk.
The 3-episode
Okay,
rule has
fucking
been
Guguk.
around longer than YouTube, my man.
No, it literally has not. Fuck off.
It absolutely has because I've been watching anime since 1996.
Don't
and it
even
was
start
around
with
then.
me, Michael. You
Yeah,
haven't been
sure.
around as long as YouTube.
You don't know shit.
You don't know shit when it comes to the length of time. Now,
Dude, I
Leon,
remember
the
people
3-episode
talking about the
rule
3-episode
is
rule in 2001.
it should not be brought up because it's bullshit. You can tell pretty quickly when you watch a show whether or not it's quality enough that you should keep watching. Now, does the 3-episode rule work in that like sometimes you get 3 episodes because that's your good hour into something to finally build up enough characters of the plot? Yes, very common. You look at classic shows like Cowboy Bebop where you're picking up characters and you don't have your full ensemble until you're into the show a little bit, and then the show really starts down a direction. So it's common for the plot to take that long to really get everything in place and then move forward. But as far as like choosing to watch something because of the 3-episode rule, that's where it's garbage, and I don't care if people use it or not.
I mean,
It's not like
again,
you
I
use
don't,
it,
I don't
Leon.
drop anime, so the
Yeah, you
3-episode
don't
rule
use
doesn't
it.
even
I mean,
apply
you're
to me
just
because I
using
don't
it as a
drop
crutch
anime.
at this point.
Period.
You're like, oh, I want this show to be good. I'm going to stick around for 3 episodes. Oh, there's a 3-episode rule. Yeah, that's why I'm going to do it. No,
No, what
you're
I'm
just-
no, don't
you're
do
gone.
not
You're-
miscategorize. Here's what I'm saying.
I think Kenny
When
just
you
not
say that
saying
3-episode rule is
'Cause he
something
doesn't
that
even watch
YouTubers
anime.
came up
He
with for their
I don't have
review
anything to
purposes, I can say verifiably that is inaccurate because
Okay,
I was talking about the 3-episode rule with my buddies in 2001. YouTube
okay,
wasn't around.
you
yet.
and your buddies were stupid for doing that. It is a
Oh,
stupid
really?
rule.
So we were stupid for doing the thing that most anime fans do. I'm talking about anime
No,
yeah,
fans.
most
most
anime
people
fans
do
are
not.
not
Hold
that
on, hold
smart. I'll
on. Do
agree
you
with
guys
that.
know why there's a 3
Read the
episode
rule.
rule? Do
Because
you
people are
guys know
stupid.
why that rule exists?
You want to give it a chance to set itself up.
That is the plot reasoning for it. Yes, that is what we say. However, back in the day when you went and you got a VHS tape, that VHS tape was an hour. That's 3 episodes of an anime. So when you bought bootleg, you got 3 episodes. The 3-episode rule came because when you got volume 1 that came in, that's what you had. And you're like, oh yeah, I like the first 3, so I'm going to keep trying to find the rest of these. It was literally a limitation of the medium in which we were pirating this show from across the ocean.
That
It's
makes
not
sense.
like, oh, yeah, this whole generation was stupid for doing it. No,
You're-
we had that, and that's how we had to function, okay? I don't want to hear you little bitches who can just click and watch and binge everything that exists say that, oh, the 3-episode rule is garbage. I don't
I
think
love
you should
that.
take 3 episodes in order to, like, force your way into, like, oh, maybe I'll like it if I keep going. If you don't like it, stop watching it, definitely. But if your inkling is like, this is pretty good, give it a few, see how it cooks, and then go with that. What, like,
I
fuck
might have
off,
dropped
you
Ashura
babies.
after
Your
drop,
methods
like one
are as
episode because
dated
I
as your
really did
tastes.
not like it.
You're
but
gone. You're
I
actual
think
gone.
I think episode 2 of Ashura was a lot more enjoyable. Like I said, I much prefer the character introduced episode 2. And I
And
just
frankly,
don't know
Peter
if we're actually
Venkman
going to
says,
focus
by the
on that guy. I feel like he's going to get abandoned.
I'm gonna give the chat some love. Peter Venkman says that she gives everything 5. So you know what?
That's
Mad
too
props to
many.
that.
There's no
no,
VHS that holds
I-
5.
I can't speak to that because I don't drop anime. Once I watch something, I'm in it for the long haul, which is why I don't usually watch seasonals. So I want to, if I'm going to have an opinion on something, I want to be able to have seen the thing to completion so that I can give my full thoughts unabated.
Is Michael on the
That
phone?
is an even worse rule than the 3-episode rule, Leon. Holy cow.
Why is being able to have a fully informed opinion a worse rule for someone that has grown up loving media and learning and criticizing media? I didn't just start doing YouTube and reviewing
Shut up,
shit
Nico.
because
Go
hey,
fuck
we can make a
yourself.
lot of money doing it. I've been doing movie reviews since the early 2000s because I grew up loving film and nerd culture.
There's a difference between films and TV shows.
I
feel
completely
like
disagree. At the end of there's a difference. Like when you say there's a difference, define the difference because at the end of the day, they have more in common than they
TV
have.
shows
different.
have much more time to set things up, and they have much longer story beats they will go on. They
that
can
that
go on.
can be that can be true.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
The story structure in a TV show can be way different because
But
the
it-
time segments you get are way different as well.
At the
And
same
when
you're
time,
doing
it's
something that's aired on a
required
weekly
to hook you
structure,
soon.
You do have to consider that as your medium, and you have to consider how much time you can fit into, like for each
But
episode.
that's not part of the when you're talking about the review process and criticizing media and critiquing media and just taking in media, the process itself is the same regardless of how much time you take to do so. That time can be a factor in what you do or don't appreciate about it. But at the end of the day, no matter what, you're spending time taking in this media, whether it's a movie or whether it's a TV show. I want to see the full product to be able to analyze the full product. I don't go and order a 5-course meal at a restaurant, eat 2 of the 5 courses, and say this meal was shit. No, I want to have.
if they burn your second course, you're probably having an issue there. Yeah.
But I would still eat the rest of it because I would want to have, if I'm going to write a review on it or have an opinion on it, I would want to know the full scope of everything that was encapsulated in that meal. Yeah, they might
could
burn the
usually-
roast beef.
right.
They might burn the roast beef, but you know what? That pumpkin pie might be the best pumpkin pie I've ever had in my entire fucking life.
I don't really care that much because I'm not that concerned about spending my time if half the show is bad.
Yeah.
Like if half the show is something I don't want, I'm not gonna be happy if the other half
And
is.
that's
at
fair
least
because
okay.
that just means you have a different value than what I value.
I think there's a
is an
catharsis
informed-
to it, though, right? Like, how many times have I watched a show that I thought was awful, and then like 8 episodes in, suddenly it changes, and I'm like, that's super weird. And now I've got this new idea in my head because I was like,
That's happened to
enjoying
me
this
a
thing
bunch of
enough.
times.
Yeah, you're
Absolutely.
Like, huh,
Like,
well, that was a great idea. How could it be done better?
Having an opinion. I value having an opinion based on the entirety of a product, not just a portion of it. If you don't have that same value, that's fine. But saying that, oh, that's dumb or that's retarded doesn't make sense when it's just subjective value.
All right,
I
I'm
think
gonna pull up your
usually you can
channel right
determine
now.
the quality of something much faster than the full series in terms of if I should be watching, if I would
Hold
want
on.
to
No,
recommend
no,
it
here-
to other
here's
people.
your
That's
problem.
usually
Here's-
what I focus on.
Here's your problem, Serranos. You're focusing only on the quality of the overall product, and you throw.
I'm not really that
everything out
concerned about
that
the
doesn't
exact
reach this
story
quality level that you
intricacies.
hit. You're not actually looking at it to like see how the story may go. May
Yeah,
twist,
I'm not
may
usually that
surprise
concerned
you,
about that
right?
because
Yeah.
for me, a lot of stories are
It's
very
just not
similar to
something
a
you'll
lot of
ever
other stories.
understand. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like I see it differently usually. It's like I'm not that concerned about like the specific story they're trying to tell, but because the specific story usually isn't that interesting of a thing. For me, a lot of what it is the whole component
the
flowing
skeleton
together
of-
as a large, as like everything is connected to itself. So every episode should be building on the last one for me, right?
I mean, yeah, the skeletons of a lot of stories may be the same. That's because there, believe it or not, there is
Yeah.
objectivity in art. A lot of people be, art's
Yes.
subjective. No. There is objectivity to art, and so story structure. There's going to be many stories that follow a very similar structure because it's an objectively well-written structure. It's what little differences have been added and sprinkled in that make it
Yeah, and
different.
I think
That's
that
what you want
I think that does matter a lot, and that's what usually separates stuff I like from stuff I don't.
Pulling up my tweet from
That's
earlier.
great. That's great.
Yeah. You just tweeted this.
I did.
I think it's a good point. I think Soldier Boy is a great character.
That's beautiful.
I think Soldier Boy is one of the very few improvements they made over the comics. Because Soldier
True.
Boy in the comics is in like 2 panels and gets butt fucked and dies. So
I think
Yeah.
we're still missing like a big picture that you need. The first episode should hook you into the show, and that's what they were doing in Japan. They weren't doing 3 episodes in Japan. They were like every other American TV show on the time. You watch the first episode, and if you aren't hooked, you don't watch it the next week.
And that's a lot of
Yeah,
But a lot of
hook-
things is
a
because
hook
of, like,
is a
the-
hook, right? It could literally be the setting that hooks in an audience, right?
Exactly.
Like, it doesn't-
What
It
hooks
could be a
people-
lot of things that hook in an
Yeah.
audience, but usually just overall quality of a show will hook it in.
like
Like
for me,
this
the
first
first
episode
episode,
of,
of Time for Torture Princess extremely impressed me because of the production quality. It was just that high. I
But I got
enjoyed the
hooked because of the
content.
food, right? Like
Yeah.
none of the quality was like it was nice, but like it because of the torture ended up being here's food that you don't get to eat. Like that idea made me giggle, and I was like, yeah, I'll watch that again.
Yeah, I had seen the comic of it, and I was like, this is nice. I didn't think much of the comic because it was just another one of. I've seen a lot of that style thing. I was like, I don't care about it too much. But when they put the extra production quality on it, when they're making it into the anime, that helps elevate it above the other competitors of the same type.
But
Yeah,
at
and
that
then-
same time, you're like, oh, all these different shows have something that's keeping me engaged throughout, like that makes me want to see the second episode.
Mhm.
Why are you going to spend any time watching the second episode of a show that doesn't do that?
Well, I'm not.
But that's
I'm
the thing is,
I'm doing that
I've
with
chosen
that do
shows,
that.
I've read synopses and chosen shows that I think do have something that would keep me interested. That's why I think I'll only be watching 5 or 6 seasonals, but it's 5 or 6 seasonals that I have a very good idea that I will enjoy. And if I don't enjoy, it's just as fun an exercise to figure out why I didn't enjoy it as a whole than anything else, because I enjoy that sort of mental exercise.
And for me, trying out a bunch of different seasonal shows, bunch of different games and demos and stuff like that, and then playing them later, like the full game. Even if I think I have a pretty good judge of quality, I still want to see more of what's out there because there's stuff I didn't think would be good that I wound up really enjoying.
Oh,
So if I think I have good, if I think
shit.
I have good predetermination, I still
Yeah,
want to
it's-
take my time and spend it looking for new stuff rather than trying to dig out
weird.
something good of something I didn't think was good originally.
No, it's not about trying to dig out something good. It's about
It's the
having a
same-
fully formed opinion either way. And the thought exercise of why did you come to this conclusion? What could have been done differently? In my opinion, you have to appreciate the negative just as much as the positive. You don't have to like the negative. That's why it's negative, but you have to appreciate the thought process of what took you to the negatives versus the positives.
But do you need to see a full show to say the first 2 episodes weren't good?
But it's not about the first 2 episodes. You don't read the first 2 chapters of a book and say the whole book wasn't good. You read the book and then decide the book wasn't good.
And the shows I do pick up, which I keep watching longer, like I watched Hell's Paradise. I watched up to 8 episodes and probably gonna finish it. And just because I do want to quantify the entirety of it, of why like everything in it sucks. But I could tell from basically episode 1 and 2 that I had a lot of issues.
Yeah, and then what's fun about that is you get to watch the additional episodes and see if those issues start to get fixed, or see if they get worse, or see if other ideas are introduced that mitigate those issues that you saw.
I skimmed through like different. I skimmed through different shows that it doesn't like any show that I watched that I like, man, this is bad. I have not watched more and said this got better.
It doesn't get worse, but you get to
I've
meme.
had that happen to me.
I've had times where I get to meme and be like, dude, it changed everything past episode 7. Oh my god. But it never got better.
Sopranos and Michael, look for the next excitement or next interest in another show. Whereas we have the push of like, well, but what changes episode to episode? What is going to happen in that next episode?
I just don't see the change episode to episode in so many shows that it doesn't feel like
because
it's
you're
worth
so
diving into
focused on just like animation quality and I don't know.
Well, it's
No,
not just
but
that, but it's the writing quality too. I mean, that's like a large part of the show is how well it's written and what it looks like.
Right, but
I know
the
you
way
guys
the show
talked
is
about it.
structured is also another way that like can change the quality of a show, can change how a show interacts with me when I'm watching it.
Take Death Note, for example. Death Note starts off relatively good, and halfway through, the show turns to shit. I mean, it's
I agree with that, yeah.
But that's my point. It's like I cannot call myself a Death Note fan in good conscience because despite how much I love the first half, I fucking hate the second half. So I'm not a Death Note fan. But having seen all of it, I can articulate that and maybe write out a fun review or have a fun conversation with someone at the local bookstore about Death Note as a whole because I've seen it as a whole. This whole thing is about. I mean,
I straight up skipped 10 episodes
the internet,
of Death Note.
we used to have to conversate with other nerds in real life, whether it be at the comic book shop or at the library or at the park. You had to actually talk with people. So if you're going to talk with people, it was best to know what you were actually talking about. And the only way to do that was to have seen whatever or read whatever in its entirety.
And there also just wasn't a lot of others. It was like
There
Because
I mean, like that's another thing. Nowadays,
these kids grow up at a buffet.
there
There
are literally a
taking
million.
scraps.
There are literally a million shows that are rated incredibly highly that I could check out that I never have.
And
I don't go into like
where I
talk
draw
about
the line real quick, Leon, is if you're watching a show and every episode you hate it, all you say is that it's bad, all you say is that it sucks, all you say is that like, wow, this is the worst show I've ever seen. I think most humans should stop watching it. Now, if you are going to review it,
to be fair,
sure.
I do agree with that. I have a much higher threshold for that. Like I dropped Ahsoka. I never thought because I genuinely wanted Ahsoka to be good, despite how I feel about Disney Star Wars. And after 5 or 6 episodes, I think it was after 5 episodes, I was like, "Fuck it, I'm done. I can't do it anymore." I throw in the towel. But it is because, that's because I was doing episodic. I almost never do weekly episodic reviews. I don't think I ever have until Ahsoka. But I wanted it to be good, and it was the point to where Ahsoka it wasn't even fun to talk about why it was bad. It wasn't fun to talk about what could be improved. There was nothing enjoyable about the conversation. Yeah, it was just sadness. However, for me, that sort of media, that's very rare because usually I can have fun with the negatives. That's something I can usually do, is at least enjoy the negatives where they are. I love B horror movies from the 80s, for example. Those are objectively bad, but there's something about whether it was filmed in a guerrilla style filming, whether it be the very shoddy practical effects, but at least they were practical, that I can find something to praise. But every now and again, I just can't do that. Even with the worst anime, I can usually find something to appreciate versus something to bash and have an interesting conversation about where you draw that line and what is worth talking about. But rarely do I come into a situation where I can't do that.
Yeah. For me, a lot of what I hate about shows is the writing. Like I will talk about like I will just skip shows because of animation. I'll usually be able to see that just like, yeah, obviously I'm not going to be interested in this. But a lot of the writing is when it comes to the fact that it is the genericest of the generic. Is like this character is the same way I've seen a million times over and over again. Like what was the wedding show that I dropped already? I
The
was
wedding
like,
rings.
Toronto's, to be fair, I understand that. That's why
Yeah.
I didn't watch My Hero for so long, because when I tried to watch My Hero, it wasn't doing anything that One Piece or Naruto or
yeah, I
Dragon
don't
Ball
think it really
hadn't
stands
already
out at
done.
all. It's just it
However,
is another
by the
show,
time I
yeah.
got to season 3, it started to stand on its own. And I'm glad I gave it that second shot. Now, you can make the argument you shouldn't take 3 seasons to finally get original. And that's a fair argument. We could have a conversation about that. But at the end
I
of
don't
the day,
actually think the beginning of the show
am-
is bad at all. It's just if you have grown up with the other shonens, there's not really much for you in My Hero.
Yeah, I'm surprised you
there's
got
not
season
much for
3
you in
not
any
there.
modern shonen, in my opinion. I don't think
Yeah.
Jujutsu Kaisen that everyone sucks off is doing anything all that original either.
I
But,
like I talked about before, I don't really watch shonens because
Hey, we can agree on
just
something.
copy
Yeah,
over a
Jujutsu
lot.
is just characters that people fall in love with.
And I do I care about characters a lot. That's pretty much second to me.
See, but,
Like,
and that's the thing.
me
I
getting
think you
into a
only care
character.
about the obvious things, Saran. Like, good writing is obvious. Good art is obvious. Good characters are obvious. To me, there's a lot more of the not as obvious things that I do want to, whether I
Yeah.
enjoy or don't enjoy, a lot more of the non-surface level things that I want to experience and get into.
There are a few like artsy fartsy kind of things I like, but largely I don't. In
No,
terms
I
of like
Like, I will
small
watch an
minutia, yeah.
entire anime if it's got a fantastic if it's got good music or interesting
mean,
choreography or
David
different
Lynch
like
made
different
one of your
camera
favorite movies, so of course that's your.
I don't usually talk about music, but music is pretty massively important. Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And like a lot of casual fans of what, not just anime, but a lot of casual fans of media will only look at like intros and outros or like the main theme song and like things like so many people can tell you about the main Star Wars
I'll
theme,
usually
but
describe
don't know anything
or-
about Yub Nub from the Ewoks. I think Yub Nub is a brilliantly written song, but it's overlooked because it's in one scene of one Star Wars movie and it's fucking titled Yub Nub. So like the Cantina Band song, bum 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 bum. That's actually like a 4.5 minute piece that you only hear like the first minute and a half of in the movie. But
Right.
I like that first minute and a half. I listen to the whole thing. It does genre switches. It does time signature switches. It's such an interesting song. But I only got that because I actively looked deeper into it. And that's what I love about media, that even if it's not good, it might have something more to offer when you dig deeper. And some people just don't want to dig deeper, which is fine. But I want to be attacked for
I'm not
enjoying digging
usually-
deeper.
I'm not usually that concerned with the specific music piece, like if how good that specific music piece was composed. It's usually more about its usage. Like having the good music is obviously good, but also how well it's used is like the most important part of it. That's why I usually talk more about it if I was talking about the direction of a show.
Yeah,
being
no, I
really
mean,
good.
I enjoy the composition, but a good composition, you're right, can be can be wasted by using it in a poorly.
It can be wasted because of the scene
So-
falls flat on its own. 'cause
Right.
it-
No, I
yeah.
completely agree. But and to me, those are two separate things. Like I can say the music is great. The way they used it was awful. But if you listen to the music on its own and you just go into Spotify and listen to play, people talk so much shit about Rebel Moon, and I can understand why. But I think Rebel Moon had the best score of any movie I saw in 2023. For all of its faults, I was at least able to say, "God damn, whoever."
Unfortunately,
did the music for it
unfortunately, it was
What am I
tied to
hearing?
Rebel
What?
Moon. Yeah, because I mean, I remember listening to. I was listening to some of the music when I was watching. It's like it's not bad, but then I never listened to it on its own, so it didn't have any chance to actually shine. It didn't have any chance to show off how good it was because it was in Rebel Moon.
I mean, I guess that's fair. The guy that did the Rebel Moon score, I'm trying to remember
I
his
was gonna
name.
say the one song I remember I liked from it was the one that was playing in the background when the robot was like washing off and he was talking to the other chick at the beginning. Like that was the one time I was like, "This is quite nice." That's why I remember. I was like, "This is quite nice," because that was the one time the music actually got to do its own thing in the movie. The music actually got to be there, and like, I guess like the, I mean, the backing music, which wasn't really super important for the barn scene, the tension they built with that, like that was one of the only good parts of the movie.
for me.
Yeah, no, that honestly, so my friend Vex Electronica, she's like, I hate it to just say it, but I gotta agree with Leon. The music in that movie it's one of those things. Like, obviously, we're not gonna stay stuck on Rebel Moon. We covered that ages ago, but like that's my point in that you can take something bad, and I still like finding the good in it. Or if
we're
there
talking
is no
about
good to
criticism
be
than like
found,
we're talking about Rebel Moon, quote unquote.
right? I think that there's merit in being able to see something to completion, to have a full idea of what the artistic intent was.
Yeah, I finished shows that I think have a lot of merit. I think I finished shows that I really engage with. I like talking about those.
Actually, no, that was so you finished shows you think had a lot of merit.
Yeah.
I finished shows that I think have moments of merit that are at least worth watching the entire bad show, so that I can appreciate those moments and then also delve deep into the things that didn't work. I like the more analytical side of looking at just media in general, good, bad, or ugly. Evil Dead is a great example. Objectively speaking, Evil Dead is not actually a very well-made movie, but there's a level of passion and heart that, because it was a bunch of college kids who were making it on a shoestring budget, who were doing it basically guerrilla style, you can that passion oozes off of the film. And even though you could say, oh, wow, these effects aren't necessarily the best effects, or wow, they couldn't afford stunt doubles, so these injuries are real injuries. Like, there's critical analysis there that makes for technically a lesser film objectively than something like an MCU film, but it's a better movie to watch because it hits.
I think you can really feel the
spirit.
heart. I think you can really feel heart, how that comes across in a lot of media. Yeah,
That's
I think
so
you can
true.
feel how
that's
much
the
an
je ne
artist
sais quoi.
cares. You can usually feel how much an artist cares about the media they're making.
Speaking of
Jim
things,
and I are his counterpoint. Artists are gay and don't deserve the time of day.
Because I mean, if I want to pick a show that has technical
call me a
flaws
gay
and or like writing flaws that weren't as good, but
I don't
It's
want to say it on
okay.
your channel. Sorry,
that's
but
our
I
that's
almost went
that's
on your
our
channel.
word. They can't take it from us.
we could say retards here.
No, I almost said
Not that one.
Yeah, I almost said the F slur for gay people.
Oh, I said faggot yesterday.
Yeah, we've dropped it a couple. We had the Martin
I'll
one.
do it on my own channel. I don't want to do it on Blaine's channel. Just out of respect.
Don't worry, I'll do my own channel. Play gets taken down. I'll stand in solidarity.
Thank you for your solidarity. Speaking of finishing things because they're great, I am actually gonna wrap the stream now.
I have one thing on.
You have one thing? Okay.
So I want to talk about is like the wrong way to use.
Hold on,
healing
is
magic.
it one thing or is it a want to talk about?
I just want to talk about the wrong way to use healing magic. It has plenty of technical flaws and like writing that isn't very good, but also I can feel in the second half of the episode the way their anime is they cared. They cared about
By
it.
second
They
half,
cared.
he means the last 5 minutes.
Oh.
By the way,
No, it was like 10 minutes.
What happened to your voice?
I don't know.
Yeah, turn into a robot.
A really fast robot? Like, okay,
Like,
Ben Shapiro bot, what are we doing over here? I mean, really, we're talking about the last 5 minutes of that show at the end of the day.
And before we end the last 5 minutes of the show, have you
At
heard
the
about
end of the
Mattress
day,
Firm?
it
Mattress
was
Firm
5
can do mattresses in a box.
Exactly.
Best sleep I've ever had in my life.
Yeah, Michael can't speak for us.
Are your investments
Kids,
protected
you
with
get
the
in
weight
trouble.
of gold?
You get in very big trouble.
If your 401k isn't invested in gold,
I'm
I
done.
don't know
You can
what you're
leave
talking
now,
about.
Blaine. You can go play with your friends.